Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Do Nothing Project, another episode of this grand experiment where we do as little as possible together, all at the same time, or in the future, if you're viewing this in the future. Again, my name is Andrew. I am not Jeff Warren, but I am guest hosting tonight. Jeff and Lily have just safely boarded their plane in North Carolina, and they are returning from Jeff's retreat just this past week. So thank you again for the opportunity to guest host. If this is your first time, I know that we have been getting a number of folks that are finding their way into the Do Nothing Project community through Calm or through 10% Happier, Jeff's meditations on 10% Happier. Folks that have done the 30-day meditation class with Jeff on Calm or the daily trips. So a big welcome to you. I'm not Jeff. I'm usually holding it down in the chat in the blue font with Lauren. Thank you very much, Lauren, for moderating tonight. But for tonight, I will be your guide. And we will do, again, keeping our expectations low. That's an important part of this. We'll do as little as possible together. So, and it's always good to see names. When I'm popped into the control room, I started to see names popping through. So I had to resist the urge to reply back to folks as I was setting up my mic and everything. So, and thank you to Susan and Sandra, Gabrielle, Chris, Fred, Elise, Ahoy, and everyone else. Thank you so much, Melissa. And it's as Jeff will often point out, I really do appreciate being able to have this sort of fence post or tent post in my week. We can all get together on Sunday nights, so definitely appreciate that. So what do we do if we're not doing anything? Usually we'll have a little bit of a theme. I'll offer a small bit of setup. We'll start our meditation together. Our meditation is 25 minutes. So that'll be 20 minutes guided practice with a 5-minute friendliness practice at the end. And then afterwards, we'll just offer opportunity to kind of keep the line of communication open for some reports, responses, how were things, if there are any questions. I am a certified mindfulness meditation coach, level 2 in the Unified Mindfulness System. That's Shinzen and Juliana Ray. Juliana Ray being the head of that organization. So I can answer some of your questions as a certified coach, not a teacher though. So I should have asked for a sound check, but I think that somebody would have pointed out that you couldn't hear me by now. So that's good. And then also this, I think, is my second, maybe it's my third time with corrective lenses. So I can actually read what you're typing without sort of heavily squinting and efforting. So awesome. Great. So I'm glad. So the sound is coming through good. And on the topic of efforting, what we'll try to do tonight is what I was looking at was just my goal in the last couple of weeks have been, how can I make my meditation sits simpler and simpler? And so there is a namesake technique in the Shinzen system to do nothing, to the Do Nothing Project called Do Nothing. And the instructions for that are relatively short and sweet. And they're this idea of sitting in a posture for a particular time, allowing whatever happens to happen. And if you notice that you have some intention to control your attention or to manipulate or shape your experience in some way, you let that go. And then you just sit. Another way of putting it, to put it in more of the parlance from Joseph Goldstein, is this idea of sitting and knowing that you're sitting. And so we'll do this as our primary practice tonight, as just a way to try to make it as simple as possible. So, oh, hey, hi there to Jeff. I thought you'd boarded, but okay, cool. Another 5 minutes. Hello. Hope the meditation, or I hope the retreat went very, very well. So the other thing I'll just offer, and then we'll get into the meditation, is this idea that the body knows how to do this. Our thinking mind might be like, wow, what are you talking about? Do nothing? Like, is there any benefit to that? And I think the chief benefit to a do nothing practice is that we put ourselves in this stance where we notice when we're trying to manipulate our experience. And another way to put that is that the E in CCNE, or in Jeff's the 4 skills or the common language, the E being for equanimity. We're putting ourselves in a situation to really flex that equanimity muscle, and we're noticing when we're trying to mess with our experience, and then just letting that go. There's no judgment. It's not good. It's not bad. We're just noticing when that's happening. So that'll be one of the things that I'll try to kind of bring us back to as we do that. Luckily, I have my bell nearby. I did not have it out. Thanks to Jeff Groves, who, whenever I guest host, I always think of Jeff Groves. I've turned my phone into into airplane mode, so that I know that I won't get that sort of GSM buzz or the GSM hum as we do this together. Cool. So that if there aren't any questions, the time clock is set for 25 minutes. We'll sit together. All right. So at the beginning, just a reminder, if you have your own practice, you're always welcome to do that. Just allowing my voice to kind of fade into the background and just be here as part of the community. And we're glad you're here. So just adopt a posture that will help you be both relaxed and alert for the next 25 minutes. And that could be sitting, lying down, standing, sitting in a chair. As Susan Piver says, sitting in a chair is equally valid. And as we start out, those of you who've sat before with me, I like to do my little checklist. And I check in with my posture, just seeing where the body's at. Also being open enough to the point that I may not be able to sit in the way that I'm used to sitting. So whatever's the best effort for tonight. And established a posture. That could be upright, or as upright as I can be without being tense, eyes open or closed, or in between, your choice. After I've done that, I look to see if there's any tension in the body. And each of us will carry tension or hold tension in different places. For me, the tension usually is around the eyes or the jaw, sometimes in the neck. And just scanning our attention. Sometimes when we notice the tension, it will release on its own. And if it doesn't, that's our first opportunity to bring that no big deal quality to our sit tonight, and allowing the tension to be there. And one more piece about tension, just checking in to see where our shoulders are at. My shoulders tend to kind of float up as I sit. So I like to just see where they're at. Down and maybe back a little if that's comfortable. And then a few conscious breaths. As the Beastie Boys say, slow and low is the tempo we're going for. Breathing in slow through the nose allows us to breathe low into the belly. And breathing out through the nose, seeing if we can extend the exhale. extending that exhale kind of gives us a cue to the body, or gives the body a cue that it's okay to switch over into the rest and relax side of things. And before we go any further, just marking where we're at right here. This is a spot where you can come back to, or you could be here the whole sit. This light awareness, allowing the sounds around you. Just sitting and knowing that you're sitting. And in our guidance, we won't be too far from where we're at right here. So let ourselves settle in. Back to our initial instructions for the classic do nothing practice. We'll sit and allow whatever happens to happen. And we're doing our best to allow our experience to be just as it is. And on the off chance that we notice that we're trying to push away a sound or brace the body or manipulate our experience in some way, we notice that. And then let that go. Or as Shinzen says, if we happen to notice the intention to control our attention, we drop it. I'll let you experiment with just sitting and knowing that you're sitting, and I'll check in a moment. So you may have noticed as you sit and let whatever happens happen, if you notice that you're trying to hold on to something or make your experience a certain way, and you let that go, and then suddenly that arises again right away. This attempt to try to control or shape the experience, and you let it go, and then it arises again. If that happens a couple times, you can let that be part of whatever happens. Just include it in whatever is happening for you right now. And again, we're experimenting with this stance of allowing, putting ourselves in a situation where we can say, well, like when I don't do anything to try to shift or shape or make my experience anything. And then know too, as a backup strategy, if this approach is not supporting you in a good way, you can always switch over to working with the home base. Totally fine. Keep going. So as we sit longer, we sometimes get this boost of confidence. So we realize, yeah, the body really doesn't know how to do this. So if I can think about that in a way that isn't too scolding, I often would think about that as if I could just get out of the way. And that's true, but maybe not helpful. So can I just trust that if I sit and I'm here, that's good enough? And we may have sounds around us, sounds of dinner being prepared, or laundry being done, or neighbors' dogs barking, or of the ticking of a clock. It's all part of whatever is happening. Just let it be. No need to interfere. So we'll have one more lengthy bit of silence, and then we'll switch over to our friendliness practice. Okay, so we're going to shift a bit and close with loving kindness or friendliness practice. We'll do a little bit of visualization around practice, something I've been thinking about. So imagine that we've got a hypothetical high school auditorium, and the entire Do Nothing Project community. Let's just expand it to be all of the Do Nothing Project community and all the folks that have done challenges with you and the Do Not or in 10% Happier, and all the folks that have been taking the daily trips. They're all in the auditorium, and you're along behind the stage, off to the side, and you're able to recognize someone who's helped you get through the last 3 or 6 months. You can bring them out onto stage. There's a spotlight casting down a nice large oval in the center of the stage. And this person that's really helped you through the last 3 months can receive the appreciation from everyone in the community. Hoops and hollers and snaps and claps. And because this person's an awesome person and they don't really like the spotlight, they're a little reluctant, but you encourage them and they head out and stand in the spotlight. And you can see their face and the appreciation, soaking it in. And you imagine how it feels for them to see and hear and feel how important they've been for you. And then you have one more friend that you've got alongside you, stage left, and you ask them to go join your friend out in the spotlight. Maybe there's someone you've met recently, someone who offered to help out. Maybe they went and picked up the kids from school. Now the kids are going to school. And they too are getting all of the recognition from the crowd. The claps, the hoops, the hollers, the snaps. And there you are, conveniently next to them, but not on stage yet. Seeing both of them soak in the recognition. You notice that they're motioning for you to join them on stage. And like your first friend, you're reluctant. You did this all to recognize them. You didn't want to be out on stage. But you join them nonetheless. Looking out, noticing just how bright that stage light is. Hearing the hoops and hollers, the clapping. Getting a chance to have your arm around the shoulder of both of your friends. Center stage. You made it to autumn. I sometimes feel like the full moon of autumn is the calm before the holiday storm. You soak in this calm with your friends. clapping and offering appreciation to everyone in the auditorium. Being on stage is awkward, so you both arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder, get to leave stage together and head into the holidays. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for everyone watching this in the future who I didn't even know was here, but is here. Huge thank you to Milin, to Jeff, to Lauren, to Lily, and everyone else in the community. Wow, it's great to hear, Chris. I've managed to get into a few sits recently that were really quite peaceful. And then I noticed how much I leaned forward for it. So it is great to have that kind of moment, though, getting a good flow, getting a nice solid flow state. So you're very welcome, Reese. Emily, I hope that's a good wow. Kent, you're very welcome. Good to see you. Yes, thank you, Lauren, for the humanities bow. And Lauren's got also a reminder too that if you do feel called to support the Do Nothing Project, if you're going to offer any of that generosity first, thank you. That's amazing. That's great. And CEC would be a great place for you to offer up that generosity. So cecmeditate.com/support-us would be a way to do that. Also, CEC is closing out the month for their theme, and tomorrow night, it is 7:30 Eastern, is Stephanie DeBow, and I believe it is Body Love is the theme. So if you want more meditation, you can do that as well. And a link is there from Lauren, so super appreciate that. You're very welcome, Salty Paws. An excellent handle as well. Awesome. Thank you so much, Candace. I'm glad that you were able to sit with us tonight. I know I'm missing folks, but at least I'm not squinting. It's kind of wild. So you're very welcome, Leonardo, and Anna, Brenda, Susan, Phyllis, Sharon. Thank you so much. Anne Marie. Let's see. Yeah, so Rob, my comment about Joseph makes you wonder, thinking about Joseph Goldstein words isn't leaning forward towards a feeling of peaceful also grasping. So Rob, great point. That is exactly what Joseph talks about, is looking for, at least, I've not met Joseph, but I feel, thanks to the 10% Happier app, I kind of feel like I know Joseph. But yeah, that leaning forward is almost a body posture towards grasping. And I know that I think it's probably 6 weeks ago, Jeff did a guidance around looking for the leaning aspect to the body posture. And so I think that is great. And then Elise is a great point. I believe Joseph does use wanting as the label for that when there's that sort of leaning into it. So that's super, super great. And thank you, Elise. I thought grasping, or maybe grasping is it as well, but and if you're new or you've just begun practice, one of the aspects of that is sort of a meta aspect that Rob and Elise are pointing to is that at least in insight style practices, one of the pieces that is brought about is trying to get a better clarity about what's happening moment to moment. And in the unified mindfulness system, we talk about that as having sensory clarity. And that's an aspect of what's happening in real time. In the insight tradition, Joseph will do this, and a lot of other teachers, they'll name a bit of what that feeling, what the body sensation is. And so we can have body sensations that are physical sensations, like the physical sense of my clothes on my skin. We can also have an emotional body sensation. The Star Wars example would be, I have a bad feeling about this. So there's a sinking in my stomach or something along those lines. And so when we start out, at least for me, when I started out, those two categories were kind of like one thing. And the labeling, the wanting labeling or the grasping labeling, is a way for us to begin to untangle that, or to sort of tease apart the two aspects to that. So, so that's a really good point on Rob's, and thank you, Elise, for that. So yeah, and a super cool point. I've been, not that I have any aspirations for being a tennis player, but recently I noticed that I listened to a podcast that talked about the inner game of tennis. That book, The Inner Game of Tennis, which is pretty old now. I think it came out in like 76, 75, somewhere in that range. I hesitate to call that old because I know a few people, like perhaps myself, that are that old. But the Inner Game of Tennis talks about a bit of this, like the body sensations, or being aware of what's kind of going on in the body. And so that's also one of these things of, I've been sitting and just trying to kind of look at the fact that my body knows how to do the meditation. It's me kind of like interjecting. That is a little bit of a gaffe. So, thank you, Candace. I'm getting used to the glasses. I've had them for a little bit now. So, hopefully your cataract surgeries have gone very well. Oh yes. My parents had, my father had cataract, and my mom has had glaucoma issues. So I know how that can be. That can be definitely a anxiety-inducing procedure leading up to it as well. So cool. Jeff is back next week, and so keep an eye on that. As Lauren has posted, there's meditations for CEC tomorrow night. And thank you so much.